continuous process.
Without much ado, allow me to invite the next speaker. He works for DAI, the Chuma cha Dziko project.
I hear what you say.
He will be speaking on the concepts, the broad concepts of Chuma cha Dziko project aligned to public finance management. After he has spoken, we will have the next speaker, Mr. Kashaje, who will be presenting on the strategies for business continuity, transformation, and survival in Malawi. All these are very important topics that we'll be talking. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take leave. I have been your host this morning and afternoon. I will hand over to my colleague, Benedetta Maere, who will continue after the presentation from Olivier Barnouin. Thank you very much. Olivier Barnouin, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big honor for me to be allowed to speak, and I will not take much of your time, only 10 minutes, because I wanted to present the assistance we bring on a long-term basis to the Public Procurement and Disposal of Asset Authority and to the Malawi Institute of Procurement and Supply for these 3.5 next years. I am French, one of the few still alive French, because I am Malawi probably, and I am a procurement advisor full-time with the main public procurement institutions in Malawi for the next 3.5 years. And my role is to stay beside the procurement community and try to share my personal experience, but also the experience of all the experts in our team. And so for me today is mainly a publicity operation. I just want you to be able to contact me or my group, because we are also, even if I am resident at TPDA and very often in contact with MIPS, I am also at the disposal of the private sector and, let's say, the procurement community as a whole. So I will very briefly present the context of our project, the main approach we are trying to implement with this change management approach, and our main goal, which is on a medium-term basis, strengthening the professionalization of the procurement community. And I will finish with a short list of main outcomes and inputs that are expected from this project. To start with the project context, it was designed more than 3 years ago for the very first approach, and it started 1 year ago in December last year. But as you all know, it was a very special year, and we did not benefit for a real full-time impact. But I do hope that normal things are coming back and the project will now progress normally. The context of this project was based on some positive observation, like, for example, in Malawi, over the past 10 years, economic and structural progress, improvement of human capital in terms of capacity building, training, education, etc. The big advantage particularly for any foreign partner, is political stability and core democratic processes, and also the development of more inclusive political, economic and social institutions. It makes a very positive context to envisage long-term collaboration. And of course, there are also possible improvement in many areas. And I've just quoted a few here. The poverty rates and inequality remain high in Malawi. And in our particular field of public procurement, it makes the 60-40, for example, development of a new regulation particularly relevant and interesting. There is still a big volatility in growth. The country is still vulnerable to external shocks, and there is little room for fiscal investment and developing fiscal policies. This country much depends on agriculture with a low productivity, environment difficulties, and in all those fields, my conviction as a procurement advisor is that procurement may directly or indirectly act positively on these drawbacks. I think it was already mentioned about the low productivity of civil service. We also talked a moment ago about rampant corruption, lack of efficient management of public resources. All this for our kind of say a reason to be for our project and for you people in the public procurement or private procurement sector. This project is aligned with a recent assessment of the procurement system, and it was driven according to the World Bank methodology or MAPS. And our project is main objective are basically based on the conclusions of this assessment. We aim to contribute to a more efficient use of public funds by facilitating behavioral changes to contribute to long-term sustainable change. And we will use, each time possible, a problem-driven approach rather than importing from outside technical solutions or best practices, so-called best practices that may not be adapted to the local context. And we have three axes, three directions to develop our activities. The first one is to assist to improving transparency and accountability of public procurement. Second one will be support training, capacitation and sensitization activities. And the third one is contribute to strengthening contract management to increase the eligibility of payments. These are the three groups of activity my colleagues and myself will work during these next years. The theory of change is the ground for our action. We would not bring ready-made solutions. We want to first analyze how the situation is, listen to the actors, and based on that, propose different ways to foster change, behavioral change, as the best possible way to improve the situation. The founding principle is that reducing corruption and strengthening public accountability is not the action of one. It can only be a collective action problem requiring engagement by multiple stakeholders inside and outside of government. Typically, civil society organizations have a role to play. The private sector, private buyers also. So every actor is considered a potential partner for our project, not only public buyers or public procurement officers. The technical assistance builds on evidence that problem-driven iterative adaptation, PDIA, approach offers opportunity to deliver improvements in services by involving local stakeholders in identifying and solving specific problems. In this expression, the key word is iterative. I mean, it is an experimental and modest approach. We will experiment solutions, discuss with the partners, and we will eliminate what doesn't work and focus on what works. Third one, to effectively build an accountable procurement system requires changing behavior and institutional norms while strengthening technical capability in the area of public procurement and contract management. This project has a component on capacity building and training activities, but not chronological, the first one. We want first to understand what's happening and where training and capacity building may be more efficient. So, in a diagram, the change management approach would look more or less like that. If a relevant counterpart identify, prioritize, and plan effective reforms, then technical assistance is provided to improve public procurement and contract management through the professionalization of the procurement community. Because reforms are relevant and responsive, human and institutional capacities are aligned with effective reform implementation. Then public expenditure are more effectively managed, fiduciary risks are reduced, trust in effective management of funds is reinstated. It is a long process, of course, cannot be done in a few months, rather in a few years. This is why our project is based, it has a 5 years duration. So 3 main components. First one is training, capacitation, and sensitization. And it will consist of assisting MIPS in upgrading the National Professional Curriculum of Procurement, which is a work I started with the MIPS team last year in December, very first approach. And we continue to develop it in the first quarter. And basically, we had to stop in the second quarter due to confinement constraint, and we will now start again. The idea is that there is room to develop new standards within a panel of pilot MDS before extending the application of standards to the whole procurement community and the whole government. We will develop a training of trainer program for procurement officer to help the demultiplication of our action. And besides, on-the-job training and e-learning capacity also developed in procurement. PPDA has a role by law and by its daily action in sensitizing public sector, civil society, public service, and here again our project will propose assistance either in terms of expertise mandates or sharing concrete action or supporting financially specific action when possible. Second component, improve transparency and accountability of public procurement. It begins with analysis of the roles and responsibilities within the system. Then we will support the drafting and execution of subsidiary legislation. After the recent promulgation of the procurement regulations in the beginning of this year, there is lots to do to update any guideline, any desk instructions, and text like, for example, a 60/40 is part of this activity. We will assess the needs to ensure effective institutionalization of e-procurement. This is This probably will become later on because the PPDA is already engaged in a huge effort to develop e-procurement in this country as part of the Digital Malawi program. But our project is just at the disposal and ready to participate in any effort if deemed useful and necessary. We will support business processes to facilitate the publication of documents and increase the ratio of public entities that publish their procurement plans, their procurement document, and awarded contract. And we can also design and deliver or assist PPDA in designing and delivering capacity development actions, including development of public procurement plans. And the last one is on reporting, because reporting is a key to transparency. So the current ratio of entities that do a comprehensive report and on a, let's say, for example, a quarterly basis is still insufficient. And this is an area we can help and bring assistance among others. The last one is enforcing compliance. And this means very clearly enforce the set of penalties or punitive measures that are provided by the law but not very much applied yet. And it is something we can also bring assistance to improve the enforcement of punitive measure as provided by the law and the regulations. Last component is about contract management. Strengthen contract management to increase eligibility of payments. It starts with an assessment of institutional linkages and gaps within contract management. For this activity, this group of activity, we work with mainly PPDA and the government contracting unit, but we are likely to work with any relevant institutions involved in the implementation of contracts. So we develop and propose an institutional setup for contract management, strengthen internal capacities, assess and mainstream the role of non-state actors in contract monitoring, ensure effective linkage between e-procurement and contract management repository. This is also a good tool for improving transparency in the system, that the actual implementation and output of public contracts could be published and better accessible to the public at large. And we are currently on an activity that aims at drafting and implementing a contract management practical guide. We have one of our colleagues working on that. He is collaborating on a daily basis with PPDA and with the GCU. And the idea is to possibly the beginning of next year printing contract management manual that could be put at the disposal of any actor in the system. I am already done. I just wanted to show, give an idea of our inputs and outcomes for this period of 5 years. We are spending 1,400 man days. For example, our colleague Kilius Mlenga is consuming part of these days for the drafting of the 60/40 regulation, and our other procurement expert on the contract management guide also is taken part of these days. We have quite a significant quantity of mandates at our disposal to make our assistance concrete for the next years until June 2024. And now, what are the outcomes? We, of course, want to contribute to the upgrade of the professional curriculum for procurement officers. A quantitative objective could be that 50% of the procurement officers in 50% of public bodies should be CIPS certified. This is not for tomorrow morning, this is at the end of the project and it will take 3.5 years, but it is a very ambitious objective, but I think it is a good expression of the stake for this project. We wish to have certified professional trainers in public procurement. The e-procurement system that, as I said, is being developed in parallel with the World Bank by a specialized team in PPDA would include at the end a central document repository, and this particular aspect is interesting for us. So we will try to bring assistance on this specific feature. And procurement plans, awards and reports published by 70% of MDA. This is an indicative ratio, but it is quite ambitious compared to the current situation, and it will be one of the measurable impact of our project. 100% of contract awarded with open competition published and available, accessible on the PPDA website. And now we are starting to design an action plan for sensitization of public officers and the civil society. 70% of MDAs and parastatals applying contract management guide, the guide that is not yet finished. We will then go into a campaign for training and capacity building, how to use, who and how should use this guide. And at the end we hope that if it is well done and frequently updated, we hope it can be a useful tool and used by 70% of the MDAs and parastatals. Basically, that is the main message I wanted to bring to you. You will get my contact, email and telephone in the presentation. I think they will be disseminated. So please feel free to contact anytime, contact me, and if you believe I can collaborate in any way of improving the efficiency and transparency of the public procurement system, I will be very happy to start collaboration with you and in consultation with the procurement authority and the institute. Thank you very much. As I promised, I was very short.
Let's give another round of applause to Olivier for the presentation.